I wanted to be in the military since I was 13 is the time I can definitively say, because I was watching the Discovery Channel documentary of the Navy SEALs. And I remember being like, that's what I'm gonna do. They seem like the baddest fucking dudes on the planet, and that's what I wanna do.
Basic Underwater Demolition SEAL Training, or BUDS for short, is the selection process for Navy SEALs. And it is literally just 6 months of getting your ass kicked, being kept cold, wet, and sandy, and never really having an opportunity to rest.
Did you think you were prepared when you showed up?
I did.
Were you prepared when you showed up?
I thought I was.
And I remember all of the people that we had like 240 something people at the beginning. And I remember seeing just gargantuan men quitting, guys that had come from Marine Special Operations, and I'm just like watching them quit, and I'm like, holy shit.
Or there's like professional swimmers and professional rugby players and like really incredibly accomplished people, but they wash out really, really quickly.
Pro athletes, Golden Glove boxers, Division I water polo players, football players, people that have, even other people that have already been to war and come back to become a SEAL.
And I remember looking around at these guys. One of them looked like a bodybuilder. You had professional athletes, you had collegiate swimmers, and just everybody across, real smart people. You know how you see some of them guys and you walk in and be like, he looks put together. He looks like he's really put together.
I think for a lot of guys that go out to training, for whatever reason, they're not prepared for the level of shock that training does to you. I mean, it is designed to be mentally, physically, and emotionally overwhelming.
It was crazy. I mean, the instructors, our first day, they pulled up the list of, here are the fastest runners and the fastest swimmers, and they go, who's number one? Okay, don't take this personally. You're gonna quit.
In SEAL training, there's a bell, a brass bell that hangs in the center of the compound for all the students to see. All you have to do to quit is ring the bell.
And I thought, I couldn't wait to hit the surf. I thought that was gonna be I was like, yes. And I ran out there and hit the Pacific Ocean for the first time. I never felt the Pacific Ocean. I know it's cold. Never gets warm. That's why everyone in California's got a great tan, because their ass never gets in the water.
BUDS is designed to be hard. It doesn't matter if you are Captain America, they will still make it hard for you. It's designed to do that to you.
You know, because first phase is the gauntlet, you know, that's where they call them the gatekeepers, the instructors. So when you show up to training, man, they're on you and they are hammering you. They beat the hell out of us.
You know you're gonna be cold, you know you're gonna get hypothermia, but at the end of the day, going to BUDS is basically like getting kicked in the nuts.
Anybody that says they know they'd pass, it's full of shit.
When day one hits, it's like they hit you with a sledgehammer. And man, there's a mass exodus of people that quit within the first couple of days, just right out the gates. And I think those are the people that haven't been able to wrap their heads around, like, this is gonna be really hard.
And then day one of BUDS rolls around and it is real. You know, you're up at 3:30 in the morning, grinder PT at 4 a.m. You know, it's at 0 dark 30 to, you know, it's real. You know, you're getting sprayed with fire hoses, you're hitting the surf, you're coming back wet and sandy, you're getting, you know, hammered on a grinder. It's like a 2-hour PT, just, you know, push-ups till failure, jumping jacks till failure, flutter kicks, getting sprayed in the face with the hose.
And what'd you do the night before? The night before that morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, 4-mile time run, you did, you know, 1,000 8-count bodybuilders, or you did buddy carries up and down the berm. So everything is harder than you think it's gonna be in BUDS. It's not what's on paper.
You run at least 6 miles a day just to eat chow. But everywhere you run, you have something called an IBS, inflatable boat small. And you run with that boat on your head. That boat, I ran so many miles with that boat on my head, it wore a hole in the top of the hat that I was wearing and rubbed the hair off the top of my head.
and then basically weeding out guys. You're doing time mile runs, tests, of course, his swims. And then the 4th week is Hell Week.
Hell Week is as close to combat as you're gonna get. I mean, it was designed by Draper Kaufman and his staff at Fort Pierce back in World War II, you know, for the naval combat demolition units that were hitting the beaches at Normandy and you know, and blowing up all the, I mean, these were the first waves at Omaha and Utah, and they were trying to create as much mayhem as possible for them. And so they tried to combine all this training down, you know, weeks of training into just 5 continuous 24-hour days. These guys, you know, up all night, no sleep, explosions going off everywhere, chaos and mayhem. And just like combat, nobody knows how they're going to do until they get in that.
I remember when Breakout started, when our main instructor, dude's just an absolute beast of a human being. He's like, his chest is like this wide. It's like, all right, boys, a booming, deep voice. He's like, let's go. And he begins firing off his gun, and we all just stream out of the tents yelling hoo-yah and running into the ocean.
You break out of these tents Sunday night, and it's complete chaos. Bombs going off, flashbangs, guns, complete chaos. And it starts, and the chaos never stops for an entire week.
And it is chaos. You know, you got machine guns going off, explosions, guys hitting the surf, guys quitting. You know, it's just people running amok.
The instructors just come out of nowhere with flashbangs and, you know, fake rounds. They're firing off into the air from their machine guns.
And, you know, Breakout lasts about an hour or so, and then right into the water, surf torture.
Walk forward till I tell you to stop.
I remember doing my first surf torture, and you know, they're always like, head back, head back. They want your ears to fill up with sand and water. And I was like, all right, head back, I'm gonna do it perfect, you know, this is gonna be perfect. And I got up, dude, and I thought I was going to throw up all over the place. Like, you get up and you're like stumbling, you know, and you're like, ah. Everybody's like, what the fuck was that?
The cold, man, I hate being cold, and I went through Hell Week in January, and the Pacific Ocean is just, that's the killer.
And the air temp was 50 degrees, and the water temp was 50 degrees.
They have a thing called the circle of death, where, so you're on the beach with your log, and you run down the beach, and then up and over the berm, and then back up the beach, up and over the berm, and then you just go in a circle. And you're going up and over this berm, it's soft sand, you know, and you're holding this log and you're just digging. And I just remember my legs were just toast. You know, you're dehydrated, or you feel like you're dehydrated because you really don't get water breaks.
Hell Week is 5 days of pretty much continuous on the go.
They break you down physically, which then inevitably breaks you down mentally and emotionally.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Good morning, Matt. Well, one thing you learn very quickly at SEAL training, it's not always the biggest or baddest looking guys who make it through.
Sunday night, like 2 in the morning, we're doing an evolution called Steel Pier, where you're in the bay and you're next to this steel pier and you are just treading water. And I remember I could see my breath as I'm treading water, and it's like freezing cold.
While you're in the water and you're, you know, shivering, you're just alone with your thoughts for an hour. You just have to continually choose not to quit. And what they'll say over the bullhorn is, hey, if you'll get out, we've got hot chocolate up here and coffee. We'll put a jacket on you. Like, and a lot of times for, especially during Hell Week, they'll start fires on the beach, and they're like, when you get out, we'll let you come over here right by the fire, like instant. We'll make it better immediately.
And then you get out and you strip off some clothing, enter the water. Tread water for a few minutes, get out, take off your shirt, take off your pants, and now you're in your skivvies. And it's like, and then they make you lay down on this freezing cold steel pier, and they're spraying you with hoses.
They'd have like those big old carne asada California burritos. Guys like starving, and they're like, just all I gotta do is ring the bell. You get one of these nice warm blankets and a burrito, and you can go lay in the bed and go lay in the barracks. Take a nice little nap. All this will be over.
1 minute.
For SEALs, mental toughness is the #1 indicator of success, and they build it through constant training challenges. It could be instructors trying to break a young recruit.
What are you smirking at, you little punk? Happy to be here, instructor. Shut up.
I was like 18 at the time, and yeah, it was the next night, and I was like, man, that bell's looking pretty good. I think I'm gonna bring it. A hot meal sounds amazing.
It's a gauntlet you go through. You know, this is trial by fire. Like, this is it. You know, this is where the rubber meets the road.
I just remember seeing the surf when we were doing our IBS or boats. You know, going out. You know, as a team, you pair up. You know, you do everything in boats, and we're going through the surf, and it was just like monster waves.
And you're fighting that. Like, there's no breaks or like, oh, we'll continue this later.
No, like the surf's big. Like the instructor's like, game on. Like, it's like there's nothing stops, right?
Yeah. You know, you're soaking wet. Now you got sand everywhere. It's grinding in between your collar and your neck. It's, you know, in between your waist and your pants. You know, it's in your boot. It's everywhere. And so you're grinding and you're sweating and you're cold and you're trying to perform. And I just remember like being like gassed. I'm like, man, this is okay. This is it. And those guys that were high-fiving and laughing and coking and joking the weekend before, they're nowhere to be found. You know, they quit a long time ago.
You're shivering all the time. So what starts to happen, your muscles are locking up from shivering. So now you're like locking up in pain.
By Monday afternoon, I thought my legs were broken.
Not even 24 hours.
Not even 24 hours. I thought, like, I literally thought, I believed in my head that my legs were broken, like right in the middle of my shins. Not shin splints, not anything. I'm like, they're broken. I'm going to take a step one of these times and it's just gonna go.
It takes you to the very limit of your capabilities. When I say the word limit, I literally mean your limit. Like, if you went much further, you would die.
Because of everything that's going on, you're constantly like beat down. So you almost always have a cough, you kind of have a cold.
If you are wet all the time, it can create this pink frothy sputum in your lungs.
Achilles tendon just was like so swollen.
I ended up getting pneumonia.
I had a bunch of stress fractures, a bunch of injuries going through buds.
So I was vomiting and shitting at the same time.
I was like spitting up blood and coughing, and I spit up this neon green sputum.
But basically, your body starts pushing fluid from your capillaries back into your lungs, and you're essentially slowly drowning as your lungs fill up more and more.
Like, it started sucking after the first night and a half, and I was like, oh man, I just got to make it to the next meal. And I got hurt, like the log hit my head funny and like did something with my nerve, and my whole arm went numb, and I couldn't use it.
It is savage. Yeah. The amount of chafing.
Develop these just horrible lesions on the inside of your leg that's just chafe. And then jumping in salt water, it really felt like battery acid being poured on my crotch.
A lot of guys chafe holes on the inside of their legs, in their groin area, in your armpits, on your neck, on top of your head. Not uncommon for guys, toenails and fingernails to fall off or pop off from just being wet.
You're just broken down. You know, people's thighs are chafed up looking like ground beef.
I mean, like, you're talking holes in you just from the salt water and the sand and stuff like that. Yeah. Your feet are so swollen, you can't you take your shoes off, you're screwed.
I mean, I got my ass handed to me. I was always wet, always sandy. I just remember the inside of my thighs bleeding constantly. I mean, you know, lost all my toenails.
The actual training is incredibly difficult physically. You know, it's like it's famously challenging. That's the whole point. They want it to be borderline impossible to do, so that if you are able to complete the training, you've demonstrated that you can kind of push beyond, you know, what most people would consider an impossible limit.
And they realized that keeping people up from Sunday till Friday can start to have some sort of brain damage for not sleeping that long. So they give you 1 hour of sleep on Wednesday.
We're gonna make you nice and warm.
That's sadistic.
we're gonna put the nice music on, you know, and yeah, I was out, right? And like I tell you, like after that, I mean, I could barely move. I was so stiff.
The way that they woke us up on Wednesday after that hour nap was with bullhorns and machine guns. So like you were violently ripped out of being asleep in the moment, just waking up with the machine guns and the bullhorns. Like it had such an effect on you to just get ripped back into like, I'm back in hell. I'm back in like the worst situation that I could be in, and it's only Wednesday.
But then waking up to the sound of your instructors, like it felt like a second later, telling you to jump in the ocean, and you're like, that's what you do during Hell Week. You're constantly jumping in the ocean. That's buds, basically.
And yeah, 10 guys were like, I'm not getting back out there. Yeah, so I think it's part of it, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, right. You know, make them comfortable.
How many of you would have chosen to avoid that tent had you given the option?
It would have been easier.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Go, hurry up. 30 seconds.
Hell Week was harder than I could have ever imagined it being. The hallucinations start about Wednesday.
Probably 72 hours in, you're starting to hallucinate. I remember multiple times I was hallucinating during Hell Week.
My hallucinations started on about day 3 of Hell Week. We had just got done with an evolution called Around the World. That night, we spent all night running with the boats on our heads.
You're hallucinating so badly, and it was so cold, and I was so tired of just being cold.
Everybody's drawing your face in the sand. Head down.
You're checked out, man, and you're starting to hallucinate. You know, you're starting to see weird things.
You're all delirious, and you have to paddle around like 18 miles of Coronado or whatever it is, and it takes all night, and no one knows what's going on because you're like hallucinating. But it just kind of feels like, how are they letting students who are basically insane at this point just go paddle out in the ocean in the middle of the night and just go around Coronado? But we were paddled underneath the Coronado Bridge, and I was absolutely convinced and couldn't be told otherwise that they were cyclists biking off of the Coronado Bridge into the water.
During Around the World, I had team members in my boat think that they would scream and yell, "Stop, stop, stop." And it's because they were seeing spikes in the water and they thought we were about to pop our boat, and guys seeing mermaids and just the craziest crap you could ever dream of in your life, because at this point we had been awake for 5 days.
And when you're starting to hallucinate, I would see upside down Buddhas in the sky. I would be like looking up and I'd see upside down Buddha's face in the clouds, man, all the time. And I'm like, man, dude, this is a trip.
Our boat crew just became super, we became a bunch of degenerates. Like, we just kept at least pushing the boat forward. And other guys would just start paddling, like start looking up. Like, this is actually kind of concerning.
And there was one dude, like, we're just out in the middle of San Diego, we're just paddling, and he's like, stop! And we're like, what? He's like, stop sign.
And I looked back up under my right arm and I thought the sky was falling on me. The hallucinations started and they never stopped after that. I walked up to my medic when those hallucinations started and I said, "Hey man, I think the sky's falling on me. Am I all right?" And he looked me back in my eyes and said, "Do you want to quit?"
You know, we think we started Hell Week with maybe 100 guys, and we were down to 26 at Thursday. So that's
you went from pre-buds at 200 and something, 250?
Yeah, 250 plus.
Down to 25?
26 guys total.
Wow.
We started around 140, I believe, something like that. And then I ended up graduating buds with 31, 32.
I think we started with 165 people. We ended with 35, something like that.
And that's what we did. We flew out with 400, class 284. 3 weeks later, we had 285. 3 weeks later, we had 185. And then after Hell Week, we had about 50 guys. And then from that 50, about 15 ended up finishing.
We started out right around 160 something maybe, and we graduated with 20 originals. So yeah, many people decided that it wasn't for them.
We started Buds Class 278 with 300 men, handpicked from American society. We graduated with about 15.
We had a big class. Out of our 227, we graduated 33. 2 classes before us, they graduated 7. There was a class that graduated 0. Like they call it the class that never was.
go to the barracks, you get your pizza, you get your brown shirt, and now you're a post-Hell Week guy.
Man, we were so haggard, and I remember that feeling. And that was a moment when I saw my pizza and like my Gatorade and my brown shirt with my name stenciled on it, that I looked around and like everybody was gone.
And I went back to my room, and I was the only one in there. They had all quit, so I was sleeping in my room by myself.
Our tendons and stuff got tight, and all the like lactic acid buildup. You can't move. So they're afraid that guys would climb up in the beds and not be able to move and fall off and hurt themselves.
Yeah.
So they made everybody sleep on the floor.
You pull your mattress off your bunk bed and you put your mattress on the ground because you can't get up into your bunk bed. You can't. Your body is destroyed.
Yeah. Like guys gain 15, 20 pounds of swelling weight.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's brutal. It's legit, man.
Yeah.
And I couldn't move.
Yeah.
Like I was just so much in pain and stiff.
And my hip flexors were so, and everybody was, from being so tense and freezing for so long, your hip flexors get tight, man. And they're so knotted up, you can't even like stand straight up.
Monday comes around after you rest for the weekend, and there's something called Hell Week Blues, which is like your mental chemical balance is so fucked up that you're depressed. So I was like super depressed, everyone was. For quite a bit, for most of the rest of first phase, so 4 more weeks.
You just had 3 to 4 weeks of the hardest fucking days of your life. And then Hell Week. And then you get done with Hell Week and you think, oh, it's over. And then the instructors crush your nuts every single day afterwards.
I think one of the hardest things for me that I didn't anticipate was drown proofing.
Of all the stupid things to have trouble with, drown proofing.
You have to swim 100 meters with your hands tied behind your back and your feet tied together. And it is challenging.
How comfortable and relaxed can you stay when you don't have oxygen?
I think the evolutions that cause most problems are the water evolution. Some of these kids are from Wyoming, different places where they haven't even seen the water, or at least the surf zone. They're not really too comfortable in the water. And you're doing drown proofing where your hands are tied behind your back, your feet are tied up.
The anxiety for that moment to get in the water and start that test was overwhelming. It slowly starts to ramp up. And then by the end of the week, you have a test called pool comp.
If you had to pick one portion of BUD/S, that was your hardest, what was it?
Second phase, pool comp.
Pool competency, that was powerful.
You're about 15 feet underwater and you have all your diving gear on. And you're sitting there on your knees underwater.
You crawl to the middle of the pool where there's a lane marker in the middle of the pool in the ground, and you're just walking, you're crawling back and forth.
And while you're going back and forth, you don't know when the attack is coming, but it's coming. The instructors are up there circling like sharks.
And the first thing that instructor does is tear your mouthpiece out of your mouth. Then he essentially beats you up underwater.
First he like beats the hell out of you and everything. Your mask is there, your air is gone, so you're on a breath hold now.
They're throwing you underwater, hitting you around.
Flipping you over, ripping off your weight belt, ripping your mask off, riding your head in the pool.
Toss you around, slap you in the head.
It's basically like a drowning simulation. You have 20 minutes that you're gonna be underwater, where probably about half of that you're gonna be without air. And anytime you get attacked by your instructor, you can't do anything. You fail the test if you react to your instructor.
And then now you have to start solving your problems in a orderly fashion. Because if you get out of order, you fail. Then you have procedures to get air back, right? And you have to go through these procedures exactly, or you fail.
And I crawled out the combat training tank just outside, and I just puked my guts up. And then I crawled back in there, and it was like the next one, the next one, the next one.
And they do it to you over and over and over again to see if you're gonna quit, to see if you'll bolt to the surface. Because if you take off to the surface, that's considered quitting.
And I could feel myself convulsing. And then it all went away. So if you black out and you die and they revive you, it's like, pass, you're good. I kissed the pool deck, came up, exhale, exhale, and you're supposed to say, I feel fine.
And when I came to the surface, I was so fucked up. I was like, oh, blah, 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 blah. He's like, Sam, blah, blah, blah. I couldn't speak.
Woke up on the side of the pool and I drowned. You know, they slapped me, getting me back awake, started vomiting everywhere. I had shit my pants while I drowned. Looked to my left and my teammate, Derek Lovelace, had drowned right next to me. And they were giving him CPR and he wasn't able to resuscitate it, so he died next to me on the pool.
James Derek Lovelace drowned in a swimming drill at the SEAL Training Center in Coronado, California. The medical examiner's report finds, quote, the manner of death is best classified as homicide.
During pool comp, we went from about 50 down to about 30.
We lost a lot of dudes the second phase. I think we lost like 30% of our class.
Monday was the hardest day of my life. I wake up at 4 a.m. on Tuesday, and I know today's gonna be harder, and it's only fucking Tuesday.
You wake up every morning not knowing what that day has in store, and sometimes that can get the best of you, and that's where people end up just quitting.
For us, it's almost like a deselection program. You deselect yourself from our program. You can quit anytime. There's the bell.
Monday, you've got to run. Tuesday, you've got to swim. Wednesday, you've got an O course, and they're all timed evolutions that you have to pass.
If you missed any of the standards on your run, your swim, or your O course, you would get dropped from training.
Just kept on like, it's okay, it's okay. Like you can push your body further, and then there was just this inside voice that you can do way more than you think you can. You can do, your mind is incredible if you set it to something.
Send your freaking sandbag, okay? We are! It's not gonna be here, I promise you that.
The students, the last 4 weeks of training, you go out to San Clemente Island. It's called third phase. And you get a very basic indoctrination into small unit tactics, rifle weaponry, explosives, you throw some grenades, you do some underwater demo, but you're out there for like the last tight 4 weeks of training.
Any education you get is just so that it gives them a different way to torture you and drop the hammer and see if you've got what it takes.
Now we're in third phase, which is land warfare, learning how to shoot. You go to San Clemente Island.
I had the expectation that once we made it to third phase, that training was going to get a little easier, that it was going to be kind of more technical and less of a beatdown. And that wasn't the case.
I knew there was things that I wasn't ready for. I mean, it was going to be a surprise.
Yeah.
You know, things you just can't train for.
So we walk and we get to like not deep water, like maybe up to our ankles. And they're like, sit down. So I'm like, this is awesome. Is this like rest day or something? So we sit down and they're like, okay, lay back now. So we like lay back just enough to where you can breathe. There's some little water because you got your buddies next to you kind of splashing around or trying to get comfortable. And then you started feeling these bites. Like it was like these little, a different kind of sand flea, I believe, or something. They would bite your neck. They were getting down your shirt and they started biting you everywhere. And like, it was so unexpected. At least for me, it was so unexpected. I'm like, do they know that there's things in here? And like, you can start hearing the chatter going around that everyone's getting bit by these things, these, whatever they were. And that was unexpected. And I did not like that. It wasn't like it was gonna rip your flesh, but it was enough to like, it was like a little pinch, like a little, just under like a bee sting.
Well, the Navy SEALs training program is under increased scrutiny after the death of a former college football star earlier this year. And now CBS News has learned of a new investigation after we showed the Navy the video that you are about to see.
Exposure to tear gas is a standard part of SEAL training.
They put you in this square where you're all like in formation and you take a knee, so you're all tight up against each other. And there's like 30 of us or 50 of us. And the instructors have these pool sticks that you use to clean the pool with, but they remove the head and they tape on like multiple CS grenades. And they got their gas masks on and they're all laughing. They think this is so funny. They got their cameras out and they're like, all right, take a knee. And so everyone takes a knee in the field and they're like, there's only one rule. Don't run.
SEAL recruits blanketed with a cloud of tear gas while being ordered to sing Happy Birthday so they can't hold their breath.
They're being made to sing Happy Birthday, again, so you can't hold your breath, and it looks horrible. Because it is horrible, and the point of that training is it's supposed to suck.
When the admiral in charge of Navy SEALs saw this video, he ordered an investigation. Telling CBS News it raises questions about the lawfulness of the behavior.
It's supposed to be difficult. You're supposed to be exposed to that in a controlled training environment. People are like, well, this one person looked like they were passing out and there's mucus coming out of their face. Like, yeah, it's CS gas. It sucks. But the first time you experience that shouldn't be in a combat zone.
But the investigation is examining whether the gas was administered at too close a range and for too long. The video was shot last year on San Clemente Island off California and obtained by investigative reporter Matthew Cole.
To join the elite corps of Navy SEALs, you have to agree to be pushed to the limit.
I know I told you guys, keep your hands off your knees and thighs, didn't I?
Maybe beyond it.
You go! You go to the left.
Hell Week is just part of the grueling 6-month program in Coronado, California. So physically and emotionally demanding that 80% of those who start don't finish.
The 80% that don't make it, 75% of those that don't make it, of the 80%, are studs. They're freaking studs. They're varsity athletes, multiple sports. They're collegiate athletes. They're professional athletes. They're Olympic athletes. They're Ivy League educated. And countless of those type of people, which are, as you put it, like intelligent, hardworking, strong-minded, patriotic, and athletically superb, means nothing. Those guys quit by the bushel. By the bushel, they quit. So no one thinks that it's going to be them. No one thinks it's going to be them, but it is them.
Just hours after finishing a grueling training, 2 Navy SEAL candidates were rushed to the hospital. One of them died.
It is something that I do not encourage people to do. I don't encourage people to do it.
Routine military training that unfortunately turned deadly. A member of the famed Navy SEALs was killed, another injured when they collided during free fall training in Arizona.
I think everybody wants to know like their calibration point on their level of toughness. You know, I think when people talk about buds and all that, I think a lot of people wonder, would I make it through?
The Navy confirms Merrihue's death Sunday following a training accident in a swimming pool at a military base in Virginia.
If you explain it to the American public, more than half still won't understand. They will still view it as brutal, as unnecessary.
Now to a training tragedy involving 2 Navy SEAls. We're learning one of them is from Livonia.
One of the things I hear is this narrative that it's too difficult.
So in the unlikely event that he makes it through the most arduous, selective, random, brutal, and ridiculous training pipeline, it's the best job ever.
What do you do to get ready for it? You know what you got to do to get ready for it. You know, Army, guess what? You're going to be humping a ruck. You're going to be doing forced marches. You got to be able to run. You got to be able to nav. You got to be able to do push-ups and pull-ups and dips and rope climbs and obstacle courses. That's what you got to do. You got to train hard. You got to train as hard as you possibly can. And then you have to tell yourself that you're not going to quit no matter what happens. No matter what happens, you're not going to quit. No matter what happens, you're not going to quit. You're not going to quit. You're not going to quit. You're not going to quit.